I was a real victim of sexual abuse. I was sexually abused twice as a young teen by someone outside my family. Why am I sharing this now? I'm sharing this for the sake of the women in the failed Repressed Memories lawsuit that was filed against IBLP and Bill Gothard in 2016. And I want to thank those involved who have contacted me in confidence. I know that was very difficult to do. I have been recently addressing Rachel Lee's and these women in a video series, and now I want them to know that I know what real sexual abuse is and what it is not. I know what real grooming is and what it is not, and I know your stories. I want them to know this so they will understand that I am sympathetic to real victims of sexual abuse. And I want to show them how, in reality, they have been used and abused, but not by Bill Gothard and not by IBLP. And my guess is that it will be very difficult for these women to watch all I have to say. They will want to turn it off quickly to keep from hearing it, and they will warn each other not to watch it. But I am sharing this to talk directly to these women. I want you to know I care about you in a way you cannot even imagine, because right now, all you see in me is a threat to your current beliefs. But I am not here to hurt you. I know you have received hardly any pushback from the public regarding your stories of abuse. I'm about the only one in public on social media that is saying that your accusations are false and that you have been duped. That's because I am one of the only people in this whole world with a platform, small as it is, who has actually studied out and investigated each of your claims. None of the podcasters, filmmakers, or producers you have been talking to or doing interviews with, or people who are just making videos online about Gothard and IBLP generally, have done any investigation into your stories. Even the producers of Shiny Happy People, Season 1, did not dig into your stories. They have not researched your claims at all. They don't know the real background or details other than what you have told them. They take your stories at face value and use them for their own gain. As we can all see, you are very impassioned about trying to get people to believe your stories and are frustrated at those who don't.
I told people about being raped as a young girl, and they didn't believe me because I had blocked memories and they didn't think that was possible. No matter how hard I speak the truth, no one believes.
It makes me so, I go back and forth between extremely sad and extremely angry. I'm like, why? How hard is it? How hard is it to say this was true? These things happened, they were wrong.
Who doesn't believe you, Miss Barker? Lauren? The rest of you? If you look at social media, it looks like everyone does. The podcasters and producers listen to your stories with gaped mouth and wide eyes, believing every word. The comments under your online stories continually validate your victimhood status. So why the impassioned plea for people to believe you? Well, you know who doesn't believe you. The people who don't believe you are those in your own personal life who know what really happened, have seen you be used and abused by lawyers and therapists, have watched your transformation into believing false narratives, and are well aware that these false accusations are untrue, misrepresenting the facts, and in some cases, flat out lies. Those are the people who don't believe you. They are those who know the background and the circumstances that those on social media do not know. Who else are you trying to convince? I also know most of you have been convinced that you are victims by therapists and lawyers, as well as several who have been involved in a conspiracy to destroy IBLP and Gothard. Remember how you didn't believe that you were victims at first, and most of you had to be convinced of it? You needed to be convinced that the terms abuse, victim, grooming, molestation, cult, and all the rest applied to you.
And that's all I dealt with. I was like, Bill Gothard never abused me. I walked in there. So I I was very afraid, but I walked in and I was like, I'm desperate for healing, so I'm here. But I was like, Bill Gothard abused me.
Another side note, Lauren, what was so interesting is this was happening real time during the lawsuit as well of our understanding of terms. I mean, not just a few times, but several times, like I was processing real time what the lawyer was saying, what happened to you fit this category. And I was like, I just was having to wrap my head around.
When I went into my first session with my therapist, I could not get what Gothard had done was wrong.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to sort of come around to that this is someone who has perpetrated against me and against other people. It was really hard for me to get that in my head.
And who convinced you that these applied to you? Your therapists and lawyers, and those on the Recovering Grace website, all who had something to gain from you and used you for their own purposes. You have been deceived. You may ask how I would know that. I would say that if you say that, it means you have not watched the videos on this channel. In that case, if you are brave enough to face the opposing view, I suggest you do so. I lay out lots of the evidence that I have already collected and have a lot more that I haven't shared yet. Another thing I want to make clear, I have no problem with people explaining their disagreements with Bill Gothard's teachings, as long as the arguments are being taken in context of what he teaches. That's totally fine and a reasonable thing to do if you sincerely believe there are some teachings that are harmful and you believe you should speak out on that. That's fine. Again, as long as your arguments don't take his teachings out of context. What is not okay is to falsely accuse an innocent man of sexual misconduct, harassment, and abuse in order to advance an agenda to disparage his teachings. That is not okay. To those of you who were duped, tricked, and used by those with this agenda, I can sympathize with you. You have been used and abused by a group of people wanting to gain monetarily as well as theologically. They didn't care about how this would drain you emotionally and in some cases, destroy your lives and families. The therapists and lawyers were making money to keep you in the delusion that you were a victim when you were not. This is exactly why they had to convince you of it. The Recovering Grace website owners needed you to advance their agenda to take down IBLP and Gothard. And all these people used you for those reasons. And some of you had good motivation in your own heart because you were convinced and believed the stories of others and wanted to help them. So you allowed your own story to be exaggerated and embellished to fit the narrative in order to help those you believed were real victims. Some of those who used you may actually believe this false narrative, but I highly suspect many of them know better, especially the lawyers you were working with. I suspect they used you for their own gain by embellishing your stories to make them seem as horrific as possible, and that some of you probably knew that this was happening at the time, and you know it now. You know that the claims in that lawsuit were not accurate and were not true. At least you know your own part of the lawsuit and the claims the lawyers made for you were not true. You may not realize the others are in the same boat. And you didn't want to be the one to tear down the whole thing, so you just went along. And what about the Recovering Grace website owners whose sole purpose was to destroy IBLP and Gothard? You were the perfect weapon for them. They used you as well, and they have used others that were not involved in the lawsuit in a very similar way. That will soon be exposed in more detail on this channel. To those of you who were not duped and are simply lying, there are several of you, and you know who you are, and shame on you. Real victims of abuse, like me, are horrified and disgusted by women who purposefully and knowingly make false claims and defraud people with stories of abuse that never happened. Real victims don't deserve to be doubted because of false claims, like the ones that have been alleged here. I can sympathize with those of you in the first category. You've been tricked into believing these lies. You've been used, and some of you have not yet come to realize that. Some of you have started to realize it, and at least one of you has realized it. I get that. You're in various stages at this point. Those in the latter category, the ones who are just flat out lying and using dramatic words and stories for personal gain, I have no sympathy for you, especially those of you who are continuing to defraud the public with these false claims and making money on it. For all of you, I hope you lay down at night and think about what has happened. Consider what I'm showing you on this channel. I suspect some of those who have been duped will think about it, even though they don't want to, and then will have to make a choice to double down on the lies that they know have been told here, which would be the easiest thing to do in the short term, or tell the truth, which would be the hardest thing to do in the short term. Which will you choose? If you listen to these videos, you will likely go to the others who are in your same predicament for validation and support when you start to realize the truth here. The others will warn you not to look at the evidence shown on this channel. They'll say don't watch it. And you will all look at your bracelets and try to convince each other that I am just a lone voice who doesn't know what I'm talking about. You'll try very hard to put aside the truth that you know I'm telling because it makes you very uncomfortable. And this will stir up your anger toward me. But inside, you know I'm telling you the truth that most people won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Most people, even people in your own personal life who know the truth, won't confront you, won't say anything to you for fear of losing your friendship or family relationships, at least those you have not already cut off because they have tried to get to you to see the truth. And in that case, you have run to the others who will validate your false claims and cut off those who try to help you see the truth. I know some of you have destroyed your families in this process, destroyed relationships with parents and siblings who love you, broken up your marriages and left your children with a broken home, and etc. That is so very sad. Those in the second category, the ones who are simply lying, will lay down at night and just be angry at me and what I'm saying and try to put my words out of their mind. They will get together with the others who refuse to look at the truth here and try to keep everyone on the same page, telling each other, kia kaha, stay strong. But I hope your conscience bothers you enough to keep you awake and thinking about these deceptions. Not because I wish harm to you or I want you to suffer, I don't, but because you will never know true soul-saturating peace in the long run until you open up your mind and tell the truth. And until then, it is best for you to feel the pain you need to feel that eats away at the hardness of your heart. This can prompt you to come clean if you allow it to. Those promptings are a gift from God and the Holy Spirit speaking to your soul. And what I want for you is real soul healing peace that only comes from facing truth and putting away lies. Again, I'm not a personal friend of Bill Gothard. I do not have anything to do with the IBLP board. I am not speaking for them. What I am is a real victim of sexual abuse who is disgusted and appalled when I see women used in the way you have been used, and disgusted by women who lie in this way. Two separate categories, each of which you know which category you're in. I'm also a daughter of a man of integrity, a wife of a man of honor, a mother of 7 sons, and a grandmother of 4 grandsons, all of whom are threatened by women who could at any time accuse them of the same kinds of things you have accused other innocent men of doing. And I'm a Christian who cannot stay silent when other Christians, even those I may disagree with theologically, are slandered, and the slander causes a stain to be placed on Christianity generally. This is who I am, and I'm calling for each of you to look at the facts of what has happened to you. If you feel right now like you need to go to the others to get validation for your stories after listening to this video, or you want to warn them not to listen to it, then you know what I'm saying is true. For further information on what has happened to you, please watch the video on the Shiny Slander YouTube channel about the Courage to Heal book you have probably read and referenced often. I'll put a link here and in the description below. I'd love to hear from any of you who I haven't heard from yet, even if you wish to stay anonymous. It would bring real joy to my heart to see you rescued from this deception. I do not ever reveal names of people who share with me in confidence, so you could contact me without your fellow plaintiffs, Bill Gothard, or anyone knowing anything about it. Next time, Shiny Happy People 2 Teenage Holy War came out a couple of weeks ago on Amazon Prime Video. Is the message the same as in Shiny Happy People 1 Duggar Family Secrets? Well, we'll talk about that next time. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment below. All these actions help to spread these videos to more people. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you here next time.